The story that I want to tell you cannot be found in a book. They say the history of the West was written from the saddle of a horse, but it's never been told from the heart of one. Not till now.
Hello and welcome. Welcome and hello. This is Wait, You Haven't Seen? It's a show where we talk about movies and specifically talk about a movie at least one of us has never seen before. I'm your host, Travis, a.k.a. TV's Travis. This is episode number 317. And the movie this week was Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron. And joining me to talk about it, it's a movie about a horse. Got the Horse Girls. How are y'all doing?
Fantastic. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. We got Alex, Jenna, and Tim of the Horse Girls podcast here to talk about this movie. All right, I'm going to start, Alex, with you. Your history with this movie.
With this movie specifically?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I saw this in theaters, which is such a rare thing for me to say. I was probably too old and fully remember middle schoolish for me. I don't know, but there was they were doing construction outside the theater, so we made like cantering noises all the way in. We were super excited for it. Absolute idiot children. I love this movie so much. And yes, part of that is nostalgia, but part of it is the epic banger of a soundtrack. Are you kidding me? It's so good. So yeah, I'd absolutely, after seeing this movie, had the CD, would blast that in the car, Walkman, you know. I'm really revealing my age so much right now.
I mean, you say that, but when you're saying middle school and you're going to see this in the theater, and I was of drinking age when this was in the theater, so
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm really skewing it. Like, if it was middle school, it might have been early high school. If it was middle school, it was late. It was late middle school. But yeah, still not of legal drinking age. But too old to be cantering into the theater for sure.
Maybe not. I'm not sure. Jenna, what about you? What's your history with Spirit?
Yeah, I was also in middle school because this was 2002, Alex. We were in middle school.
Hell yeah, nailed it.
Yeah. I was also in middle school. I did go and see this in theater multiple times and then immediately begged for every single art book that had to do anything with this because I wanted to draw this weird front-facing predator horse as often as possible.
Yeah. Tim, what's your history with Spirit?
I saw this movie I don't know, a few months ago when we watched it for Horse Girls for the first time. Because I also was probably of legal drinking age when this movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then I got to gloat a little bit because it's one of the few movies for that month period. That's one of the few movies I'd seen that Travis hadn't. So I got to you haven't seen this.
It's true. That's true because this was the first time for me watching this movie. I remember it. I remember it coming out. I remember seeing posters and ads for it, and it wasn't even a age thing of I'm too old to go see a movie like that in the theater. It was just the trailer just didn't grab me at the time. I wasn't of the mindset to watch a movie like this in a theater. Having said that, there's no other reason for me to have not seen it in the last 23 years other than I just never thought about it really again.
Yeah.
It was one that I knew existed and I knew had a horse on the poster. Extent of my knowledge, I knew nothing else about it. I didn't even realize it was DreamWorks Animation until I fired it up to watch it. And it's DreamWorks Animation. I'm like, cool, all right, I like DreamWorks. And that era had, that was kind of the era of, what were some of the other ones they were doing then? Prince of Egypt, I think, was around the same time. And that. So I was like, okay, all right, DreamWorks, I'm in. And then it starts up and I hear the voice of Matt Damon. And I had to pause it for a second. I'm like, hold on. Because he also, right around this time, I think was when All the Pretty Horses came out. Is that right?
Uh-huh. I think it was similar.
I feel like that was in that same, within a year or so. And I saw that in the theater. So I'm like, he did 2 horse movies in okay, all right, Matt Damon, cool. And then it starts. And I got to tell you, that opening, a movie can grab you with its opening scene, and this one did that. It really, what it reminded me of was the mixture of 2D hand-drawn animation and kind of CG backgrounds reminded me of The Rescuers Down Under.
Yep.
Or Beauty and the Beast did it too. Like those Disney movies really worked that mixture of the two together, and this nailed it right from the start. And I was like, all right, I'm in. Hour and a half, here we go. Let's see what this horse is doing. I was expecting talking horses. I'm not going to lie. And that's probably just my Disney indoctrination, right? Like every animal in every animated film talks. And they didn't. And I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah.
I thought that was absolute genius on the part of the filmmakers for this. And then I read that initially they were going to. That the first early drafts of the script had them all talking. And I'm like, no, you know what? This works so much better just with like animals being animals. And you almost could get away without the narration in the movie.
I think the horses were expressive enough that you got the idea of what they were thinking at any point anyway.
Yeah.
Definitely.
They did a great job of giving the eyes, especially of the horses, but their faces, just enough expression to let you know what was going on. And you could really interpret everything that was happening, which is why I'm glad the narration was very sparse throughout it.
Yeah.
Because you could easily overdo that and dumb it down. And it's a G-rated family movie, so you're going to get some of that anyway. There's just no way around that. But I liked the balance of how much narration we got for just animal noises. And then I read afterwards, too, all the animal noises, it's actual horses. Because,
I
usually
had that thought, and I was wondering whether or not they had done that. When I was listening to it, I was like, did they make these noises, or did they just go record animals?
Because usually when you've got animals in an animated feature, you have someone do those noises. And it's more often than not Frank Welker or D. Bradley Baker that are doing them.
Yep.
90% of the animals you hear in a cartoon is one of those two. And you do that just for ease of recording. You can get the exact sounds you want. I like not doing that here and making it actual horses, and the clomping and everything they went out and did. It was great. It added like a layer to the movie for me. That, again, none of this I knew until after I got done. I watched the whole thing through, and then I read about it, and reading those things, I was like, that's really cool the way they did it, because this was not a cheap movie to make either. I mean, animation isn't cheap, but anybody have a guess on a budget for this? If you don't know already?
I would have guessed 150 million given the time.
Okay. We got a 150. Anyone want to go higher or lower? Jenna?
I would say lower.
Okay, lower.
See,
lower.
I'm basing that because I remember how much Polar Express cost, and so I went a little down from Polar Express.
Okay.
Oh.
That's pretty
I
fair.
feel it can't be as much as Polar Express.
It wasn't.
though.
No.
No.
It was not. This was actually $80 million.
80 million.
Although for an animated feature in 2002, that is still quite a budget. Because we didn't have regular, typical 150, 200 plus $million films then. Even like big budget action movies were hitting 100, and that was high budget. So this wasn't cheap. Animation typically isn't. And it shows. The animation in this is gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful. And so much of that was the work they put into the horse models that and the horses that they drew from. Because I guess Spirit, who isn't given his name until the very end of the movie, I thought that was kind of interesting too. Again, it wasn't the story I thought was going to happen. It just didn't play out the way I was, like, I had no preconceived
curious
notion.
what you thought it was. Like,
I
I need to
know.
know what was the preconceived notion going in.
Okay, so going into this, I felt like it would be something akin to Disney's Pocahontas, that type of thing, but something to do with, because it's Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron, which I think that word is said once in the whole thing, the Cimarron herd or something. So I thought, for some reason, I felt like that was going to be much more integral, and it would have something much more like deeply tied to the land. And it really wasn't. It was, but it wasn't that. Like, it was deeply tied to the land for this particular stallion, but it was a very simple story of just he's taken and wants to get back, and along the way make some new relationships that make that going back a little bit tougher. I really liked that. I liked the simplicity of the story because it made me invest in the characters, because I don't have to worry about trying to follow some intricate plot of weirdness going on. It's just like, all right, very simple. The white folk are bad, right? The white soldiers, bad guys. The Lakota, less bad. The horses, good. The eagle, a little derpy, but he's fine. He's just doing his thing, flying around. Everything. That was another one too, by the way. I did notice that the eagle was an actual, like the sound was an actual eagle sound. It wasn't a red-tailed hawk that you always hear as a bald eagle, because those sound more intimidating than eagles. Eagles sound kind of poncy.
I just watched you and Alex become best friends.
This is Alex's like world's biggest pet peeve, is screaming about how it's not an eagle, it's a red-tailed hawk. So yeah, you might have just.
I mean, you hear it, and like there are sounds that happen in television and movies that are forever ingrained in your head. The sound of thunder that is used in everything ever. It's always the same stock thunder sound. The red-tailed hawk for a bald eagle. The Wilhelm scream. I was just watching one of the Fast and Furious movies, and they used Star Wars sounds at certain points. There was a scene of a car driving that sounded like a TIE fighter. Kid you not. And that is a sound you don't forget if you're a Star Wars fan. So when I see an eagle, my brain immediately assumes I'm going to hear a red-tailed hawk. It's just what you get. And I didn't, and I was like, that's nice. I like that. Thank you. Thank you, movie, for your authenticity. There's probably other things in this that are a little less than authentic. Like, okay, when things go south and they're in the river, in the rapids, how accurate is that for horses? I mean, I know they can get into the water, but I feel like getting another horse on their back and trying to swim them out of the river, I was like, this feels unnatural, and yet it kind of fits the drama of the scene, so I'm sort of okay. Like, my suspension of disbelief is fine there. But that's not how they would act, right?
No,
Okay.
no, that's super. I mean, they're good swimmers, and the animation in particular of like holding onto the riverbank, and then when they do that below shot, like that is super accurate to horses swimming, but they're not like pulling the other one on its back and like swimming out. Like,
Yeah, I was like, I'm not sure about that, but hey, you know what? It makes for a good dramatic scene, because it was a very dramatic scene. I had no idea of a time frame for this movie, so when it started and it's just horses running around the plains, I'm like, cool, all right. And wasn't expecting a birth scene beginning of my G-rated film. That's for sure. Is well done, and I think was important, but I was like, oh, we're doing that. Cool. And we get baby horse, and I love the opening. Like, the whole opening was just great. But I didn't really know like what we were dealing with time frame wise until we start seeing. I think it was the cowboys, right? That's the first humans they run into. Because up until that point, it's sort of Spirit being born and growing up. We get the growing up montage. And then he becomes the leader of the herd, which that was one that confused me, because I'm like, okay, we've met his mom. We have no idea who his dad is, but apparently was the leader of the herd, I guess. We'll just hand wave our way through that one, which is fine. But yeah, then the cowboys. And that's when I was like, okay, so now I've got a rough idea of what we're dealing with timing-wise. Yeah, then it just sort of goes from there. Like, we get to the all the stuff at the fort was great. And then James Cromwell doing voice work. That's a voice I know right away.
okay, I thought it was Liam Neeson for like the majority of the movie. I'm sitting there going through, and I'm like, Liam Neeson, huh? All right. And then
No,
I
Liam
checked who
Neeson's-
it was at the end.
Liam Neeson's a little more Irish sounding than James
Yeah,
Cromwell.
yeah.
But I've watched L.A. Confidential way too many times. So
That's a fantastic movie,
Yep.
though.
James Cromwell in that. Plus, I mean,
Yeah.
Babe. Come on, that'll do, Babe.
Yep.
Not to mention the number of times I've watched Star Trek: First Contact. So his voice is ingrained. And they never give the Colonel a name, which I kind of like.
Mm-hmm.
But I hated him just
Mhm.
so much. And a film like this, especially a family movie, everything is very black and white. You don't get a lot of subtlety in your characters, which I understand. But man, he is just despicable. He's awful. I hate everything about that Colonel so much. I wanted him to get kicked in the face. I wanted him to get roughed up like Murphy, the blacksmith,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which was a funny scene. Loved that. Because he's just, it's like, he's stubborn. Murphy is very stubborn, but he's got to learn sometime. It's how many times he get kicked, and
Yeah.
every time, that was great because every time he gets kicked or roughed up, then it's just cut away and come back, and the horse is more tied up. Now we're gonna tie your front legs. All right, fine. I'll just use my back legs and kick you around a little bit. Tie all four legs if you're gonna do that, guys. Like, these are soldiers. I thought they were smarter than this, but no. So everything, like, just everything going on in this, it's such brilliant storytelling to have your main character never speak directly to anyone, and yet they know what's going on with him. Like, there's this wonderful interplay of all of that. And when Little Creek comes into things, I liked how that was the first time we heard the phrase the two-leggeds.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I am now going to refer to humans as two-leggeds. So there's that. He was, by the way, voiced by, was it Daniel? Where's the name for?
I looked it up after and I forgot
Daniel
it now.
Studi. And Daniel Studi is the son of Wes Studi, who is an actor that I
Mhm.
adore. I love him in everything. He has done some really good stuff, and he has done some hot garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Famously, he was Sagat in Street Fighter the movie.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He was also in a really underrated Stephen Sommers movie from 1998, I believe. It was the movie he made before The Mummy. It was called Deep Rising.
I remember Deep Rising.
Mhm.
And I love Deep Rising because it's just a campy monster movie,
Mhm.
insanity. And Wes Studi is in that. And his character is also despicable in that movie and gets a well-deserved horrible death. But yeah, it was his son. When I saw the name in the end credits, I'm like, I wonder if he's related or not. And I'm kind of surprised. As an actor, Daniel Studi basically did this and like two other small things, one uncredited in one movie from the mid-90s, and that's it. So I guess he just didn't have the acting bug.
Yeah.
But how did he land Spirit in that? Like, I understand, like, not having the acting bug and, like, maybe having a few smaller things, but, like, Spirit's a pretty decent-sized get.
I'm not sure. A lot of the voice acting in this were names that I've seen, but not like, I mean, outside of Matt Damon and James Cromwell, it wasn't a lot of names that I recognized. So I feel like, and this was also in development for a long time. I think they were working on this for 4 years or something like that. So very well could have just been he knew somebody at DreamWorks, and they're like, "Hey, you want to read for this?" And he probably didn't love voice acting, and said, "Well, I'm fine. I'll do other things. Let my dad do the acting." But I actually thought he was pretty good.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously the movie is carried by Spirit, and so that's where all of your emotion is going. But to have a couple of human characters and give kind of both sides, right? So we've got the bad guy and a good guy, because really Little Creek is a decent guy. Overall, the way things were with the Lakota in this, I liked. because he understood, and it's that mixture of like, I'm not a horse guy, but I know with animals it's much more about a relationship with an animal than it is about breaking the animal. Which was why, like, Colonel, just awful. He was terrible. So I liked that we could we could have a different voice for humans in this. Even he's really the only one we meet too, other than he's got his two friends that watch him get thrown off the horse. That, by the way, my favorite thing when Little Creek tries to ride him, and because how much time passes in this movie? I'm curious. Because he gets his mane.
I think years, yeah.
Because his mane gets cut, yeah, and then it grows all the way back out. So like it's obviously months at least. But we go through the whole montage of like the two of them bonding, and then when Spirit like kind of takes the blanket and gives it to him, like, all right, come on, you can ride me now. It's cool. And I sort of had an idea of what was going on with that, and I had to download the Dave Chappelle Psych, because that was what went through my head in that exact moment. Was that when he looks over his shoulder and just gives, again, the facial expressions of the horse, because horse faces are not as expressive normally. They did amp that up, and I liked it, but I just loved the look over his shoulder and just, nope, not happening today, boy.
I loved it when the two friends were laughing and Spirit turned around and was like, "Oh, you think this is funny?" And then went over and scared them off the fence.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That was good. The whole bit in the fort with all the soldiers trying to ride him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I loved that, because he is just chucking them all over the place. And even when the colonel breaks him, and I'm like, oh, it can't end this way. No. And sure enough, nope. He one last try. And I really liked the horses, like laughing, and then that felt very like Disney movie, where the horses were whinnying and laughing, and then all of a sudden had to go back straight faced. That kind of got me.
They did that again later in the movie.
Yeah.
And I just like the reactions of the horses. Look at what this guy's doing.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It was perfect. You mentioned the soundtrack. So the music starts going, and I'm like, that is Bryan Adams, is it not?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so this is basically a Bryan Adams album.
Yeah.
More or less.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought, oh, cool, they got Bryan Adams to do a song for this. And then the next song started, and I'm like, that's Bryan Adams again. Okay. I think I see where we're going. And it's like every song is Bryan Adams. And it's all right. I'm not the biggest Bryan Adams fan. So, like.
Oh, okay.
But you have
Robin
to.
Hood, Prince of Thieves.
That's the thing. You have to understand is like, I was in the middle of that. It was all over every radio station imaginable.
Everyone.
You couldn't swing a dead cat without hearing that song from Prince of Thieves. And then a couple years later, it was the Three Musketeers.
Yeah.
With Oliver Platt and his song from that. And I think there was even there were like 3 or 4 different years of the 90s that were just all Bryan Adams all the time. I want to say it was Don Juan DeMarco.
Maybe. I thought there was
Johnny
one about
Depp.
being a model.
Probably.
That he did a song for too that I can't think of right now. I may be getting that wrong. But yeah, but Prince of Thieves, that song, definitely, you could not move an inch.
Mm-mm.
It was in every store you were going to. It was literally everywhere.
Every store and every third radio station was playing it at any point.
Yep.
In a given 24 hours. Like, it was just inescapable. So maybe I just got burnt out on Bryan Adams and his raspy voice, I think is maybe what it is. This is a very distinct voice.
That's fair, but like when they're doing the "Get Off of My Back" song as he's like tossing one dude after another, so
it fits.
good.
So
no,
good.
it fits.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying I'm not the target audience for a Bryan Adams soundtrack album. Is all. But it didn't take away from it.
That's fair. Did you enjoy the beginning of Sound the Bugle Now, which is the train car one that was the first notes of MCR Black Parade?
Yes. Oh yeah.
It's one of my favorite things now of all time.
That is fantastic. No, it was good. And again, I'm not the biggest MCR fan, but I know that song, and it's not bad. Like, Bryan Adams isn't bad. It's just not quite my thing. But no, the music in this really, it fit the feel of everything so well. It was Bryan Adams, and then Hans Zimmer, I noticed too, was a name I saw in there. So makes sense. Yeah, I did enjoy the music quite a bit. It's a wonderful movie. And one thing I will say, I was not anticipating getting choked up at points in this movie. It hit me because I started having like emotional reactions to what was going on with this horse. When he's meeting the other horse, Rain, is that her name? Yeah.
Yep.
I'm like, okay, cool. We get horse romance. I like it. I dig it. We can work with this. But when she gets shot, oh, I gasped out loud.
Yeah.
I think I woke the dog up when it happened, and I'm like, no, you can't do that. I think my notes were, no, don't shoot the horse. Oh, that was like, because when he meets her, like, it's adorable. His ears pin back a little bit. When he's in the I think it's when he's in the pen and he wakes up the next morning and there's the pile of apples, which I thought, I loved that. I love the callback to that at the end. It was really nice. But when he sees her, so she gets shot, and then there's that whole thing we mentioned already with the whitewater and her getting her out of the out of there. And that was the first moment where I'm like, all right, I got to pause for a second and collect myself, because she's laying on the bank of the river and starts getting the deep breaths going, and you see the concern on his face. And when Spirit walks around and gets behind her and lays down with her, I was like, hold on, got to pause for a second. I need to go get a tissue. It was hurting. It was hurting me. And I was not prepared for that when I started this movie. I did not have on my bingo card cry at the horse movie. So thank you for that. Also, something wouldn't have happened to me if I'd seen this in the theater back then, because I was the stoic, early 20s dude, moron. But it wasn't the first time, or it wasn't the only time that I started crying watching this movie, because right at the end too. After he jumps, which that was one of those where I was like, oh, okay, we're gonna jump the canyon, and he does it. And I don't know if you might know this, but I read that initially they were going to have like wings appearing, almost like he was able to fly from that, and they decided maybe a bridge too far. And you know what?
Yeah.
Again, good choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have taken me out a little bit of it.
Yeah. The other one that choked me up was when he sees the eagle, and the eagle doesn't pay attention and flies away, and just the look on Spirit's face. I was like, oh, I just want to give him a hug. He's so sad. His eagle friend didn't look at him, and it wasn't the same eagle, I don't think, but still, it was like, oh. But after he jumps, and trying to remember. After the jump, is when they have the reluctant, respect for each other.
Yes,
between him and the colonel.
He pushes the gun down
Mm-hmm.
that the soldier has next to him and gives him the nod.
Yep. Yeah, the old bro nod. All right. I just watched you do something no horse should ever do. I can't shoot you for that.
Yeah.
Respect.
And, Spirit giving him the nod back, too, was great. I loved that. And they ride off. But then when he gets back to the village, they find the little encampment of the Lakota. And I'm like, oh, cool. He found his people. And then it hits me. Wait a minute. wait a minute, rain might come back. And immediately, like, I get the little lump in my throat thinking about that. And when she comes trotting out, I was like, oh, damn it. Damn it, movie. In fact, my exact note, I will read you verbatim what it was. So my notes went, the reluctant respect, stopping his shoulder from shooting. Sure, I'll take it. The next note I have is, damn it, movie. I knew this was coming, and it still got me. I saw it coming, and I still started to cry. I'm over here weeping. I'm like, oh, it's so cute. And then he lets them go.
Yeah.
He's like, no, go be free. And I'm just like, oh, damn it. I don't have. And like Bella's trying to figure out why I'm getting upset. She's like, are you okay? Are you all right? Yes, I'm fine. I'm just crying about this horse. And that's when he gets his name, Spirit. I loved it. It's a beautiful movie.
Yeah.
So, Tim, you watched this for the first time recently. Did you have kind of similar at all reactions to it?
So I kind of go through the same process. They've made me watch several horse movies because
Sure.
I never really watched them before. And I made the same mistake that you did where I sort of like, I would look at the poster and I'd be like, I know that's going to be just a boring history movie about horses. And I'm thinking about like Seabiscuit and War Horse and several movies like that. And they constantly like I am not an emotional person. I am not supposed to be having these reactions.
I am feeling feelings, and I didn't know that.
Yeah. And they're all like, we let you watch the happy one.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
The rest of them have such horrific stuff that happens in them. And I'm like, what is going on? We watched The Horse Whisperer. And that is just way more epic of a movie than I had expected. But it was the same thing as this. Like, these movies are all so much bigger and so much better than I had thought they were going to be. I wish I hadn't sort of blown past them before, but
Well, I do feel like, though, I say this a lot, you're always a different person every time you see a movie.
yeah, that's true.
And I know for a fact, had I gone to see this or seen it 20 years ago, I would have appreciated the animation, and I would have left the theater or the screening or whatever and been like, that was all right. But it wouldn't have made an emotional impact on me. I wasn't the right person then to appreciate the story that this is telling, of sort of this idea of being free and having that freedom, having that taken away, and all you want is that back, but somewhere along the way you also learn more about yourself and you want to bring more with you. Like, he's not the same horse coming back to his herd at the end, who are still wherever he left them, conveniently. But he's grown, and it's hard to do that in an hour and a half and make me believe it. But there's something in the way that he was still the same horse while being wiser.
Yes.
At the end of things, I thought was cool. And, he had a girlfriend too, which is always nice to come home to mom. Be like, Mom, I met someone. Because I think his mom was the only other horse we really spent any time with, other than the two little ones that were play fighting. I did like that moment. That also felt very, I want to say Disney, but it felt very like cartoon. That moment of those two. There was elements of that. It was a nice balance of like epic storytelling and then fun comedy thrown in, moments of levity. I do wonder what this movie would have been like with no Matt Damon voiceover, no narration at all.
I think I don't think the Matt Damon narration was bad. So don't take it as me saying this, but I do think the movie would have been better to me personally without the Matt Damon narration. And it was because the horse, you never had a problem understanding what the horse was thinking. But I think it would have made it a better experience going through the horse's reactions.
I kind of agree in that I think that it's a more engaging story without that. However, when you spend $80 million on a studio animation film, the executive producer is going to say, you're putting in a narration. And you don't really have a
you need it to be more widely palatable.
Yeah, there are kids that are going to be watching it that are going to They're gonna
Yeah.
want the story given to them a little better than
There's
Mhm.
and not just kids. There would be parents of the kids that are going to want
Oh,
that
that's true.
spoon fed a little more to them
Right.
as well. I know many people like that. It's why there's people that like the version of Blade Runner with the voiceover
knew it.
more.
I knew you were going to
or-
bring up Blade Runner because I can't think that there's a better example of that argument
now
of the narration versus the no narration.
a big difference is that Matt Damon is invested in this narration, whereas Harrison Ford was like, "How quickly can I read this and be done and go get high?" Because it's Harrison Ford. Like the only voiceover I can think of that was recorded faster than that one is the voiceover at the beginning of Highlander, the first movie, recorded by Sean Connery in the bathroom of his villa. Done so because he couldn't be bothered to go anywhere else, and they were like, you know what? It's got a weird echo to it. We kind of dig it. We're just going to leave it in. So they did, but like Harrison Ford is just like, I don't want to be here, man. Just all
I guess
right.
I can tell where you stand on the Blade Runner narration.
It doesn't read it. But I'm the same way. Like Dark City is another movie that has an opening narration from Kiefer Sutherland that the movie doesn't need, and the movie is better without it, because the problem with it is it gives away so much about the movie and the story in the
Yeah.
first 5 minutes. And
Yes.
I appreciate a movie that treats its audience with respect. And a filmmaker saying, here's my story, you're going to figure it out by the end.
Yeah.
However, I have watched movies with plenty of people that all they do is ask questions throughout the whole thing. I'm like, this movie would tell you everything you want to know if you would just shut up and listen.
Dark
But
City
hey.
might be my most underrated
Oh,
movie of the night. Like, I don't understand why more people don't love that movie.
there's a reason Roger Ebert said it was his favorite movie of 1998, which
Because it was
was
fantastic.
a hell of a year for movies, by the way.
Yeah.
And Dark City is a movie I will champion. And if you can, watch the director's cut, because it does reorder a few things, and it's actually a much tighter
Ooh.
I don't
version.
know that I've ever seen the director's cut.
I've
always
never
been
seen the director's
Yeah.
cut.
There's a director's cut, no voiceover, and they restructured where some of the scenes take place.
Yeah.
And it's so much better. You can find it; it's out there.
Oh, I'm
For
gonna go
sure,
look for it.
it's
That was
Yeah.
definitely
one
worth
from
it.
a high school that my best friend on the planet was like, you need to watch this movie, and I had sort of blown past it
Mhm.
at first. I was like, no. He's like, no. You need to watch this one, and I was like, that was so good.
It really, I dig his Alex Proyas's whole style is just really great, and so I do think that this movie could have been made without the voiceover, but
Hmm.
at the same time, given the target audience, the voiceover
Yeah.
is important, and so getting Matt Damon to do it and him really caring, I think, helped quite a bit.
Do definitely agree with you that the level to which they added the narration really added a lot, because it was sporadic.
Yeah, they
get a
didn't
ton of
overdo it.
throughout the movie. Yeah.
They just did it a little bit to give you like, here's a signpost of like, here's where we're headed.
Mhm.
And that's all you need. But so much of the animation told the story. And it is a visual medium at the end of the day. So an animation can do so much. I also love things like the way color was used and lighting and saturation is a thing. When he is caught for the first time by the cowboys, he goes into that little, not quite a canyon, but it's like high-sided, and he gets out of the sun, and so everything, suddenly all your saturation comes down and everything gets muted, and it's just, it helps you get into the right emotional state, because now all of a sudden it's like everything's a bummer, because it's not bright colors anymore. We've had bright, sun-drenched color for the first 20 minutes of this movie, and now he's captured, and he's dour, and it's down, and then it's all brown from there on. When they get to the fort, everything's brown. It's all dirt. The only
Mine
color
was seeing Spirit versus seeing basically every other horse that wasn't Rain when he was in those situations, like in
Yeah.
the camp or when they're pulling the train or whatever.
Mhm.
Every other horse looked sort of like similar and kind of generic, and then there was big bright Spirit standing out.
Yeah, I love when a movie will do that too, because for a fact there were tons of other horses the same kind of color as Spirit.
Mhm.
There should have been, but they made a conscious effort to have, like, I think one other horse maybe somewhere in the background. So he stood out, and Rain stood out as kind of the only white and slightly dappled horse. And the rest of them were very dark browns and blacks. And it also, like from a subconscious level, they're all the broken horses that are gloomy. Subjugated. And so it's all gloomy. And he is the wild one. And so is Rain. And I love that. Like, I like little visual cues like that. And for kids watching it, it's really easy to glom onto those without ever realizing it. You don't have to be, overanalyzing film bro like myself to catch those things. I just verbalize it because, well, it's what I do. But same thing with like musical motifs, right? The music will switch to a minor key, and that sort of tricks your brain into being sad. And then Bryan Adams starts singing, and you get more sad. It just a cycle. It keeps going. I'm sorry. I shouldn't rag on Bryan Adams so much. He's not the worst thing to come out of Canada.
We've just discovered why Alex loves him so much. Okay.
Wow.
I just love that. Like, so I was just complaining about the Minnesota Twins because of something that happened in 1991, and I'm glad to know that there's somebody else who's still hanging on to something from 1991. And it was that.
Hey, you know what? I don't hold a lot of grudges. That's one I'll hold on to. All right. There's that and the Chicago Bulls. Oh, and my hatred of Ohio, but that's a contractual obligation. I live in Michigan.
Yeah. Right.
If I don't, they'll kick me out. I did capture a few audio clips from this. There wasn't a ton because obviously there's not a lot of dialogue to go on, and I wasn't going to capture like moments of music. But there was a couple.
Because it's Bryan Adams.
We get it. Because we already know why. Yeah.
I wasn't going to say it, okay? I was going to finally let that one go, but as long as we're here, no Bryan Adams, damn it. So right after this, all right, I'll play this one and then I'll mention this. So this was the Colonel, and this was the moment that I was like, well, I hate you.
Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Tie this horse to the post. No food or water. 3 days.
Yes, sir.
I'm like, all right, well, you're awful. And then the next morning, I think it is, when Spirit wakes up and he's tried getting off the post and that didn't work. Although, couldn't he just chew through the rope? Or am I wrong on that? I feel like he could have. But I digress. We see the Colonel walk out and make a show of drinking from his canteen. And I'm like, oh, you're even worse. And like rubbing water on his neck. I'm like, you son of a... And then he lights up a cigar. I wasn't expecting smoking in my G-rated horse film either. But here we were. And, that is a funny thing to me because all this, it points to the arbitrary nature of ratings boards. Because smoking would get you a PG-13 at least in most movies, just to have that in there. And I mean, if you watch anything on streaming now, if it's an older thing, they will have a warning ahead of time of smoking and tobacco use. And it's like, I get that, but to put that in this movie, and it's not even like a background thing. It's prominent front of screen thing. Kind of surprised me. So, didn't like the Colonel. Colonel can die in a fire. I don't care if he reluctantly gave him respect at the end because he jumped a canyon. Like, doesn't matter, man. You're still a piece of garbage.
He went right back to doing what he was doing.
Yeah.
He didn't learn anything.
He just went and found another horse and broke it because he's an asshole. I did like this bit of narration because it just made me laugh.
Okay, I admit it. She was charming. In a stubborn, irritating kind of way. So, I let her show me her world.
That is such a preteen boy mindset of
yeah it is. You're right. I think you're correct.
We're current day Tim.
I looked immediately at Jenna and was like, they've met you. Because that is the absolute sentence that I would use to describe you.
You enjoy sleeping on the couch? Is that what it is?
And then Travis sideways roasts me with the preteen boy. Oh, but it fits. It fits. I gotta wear it.
It's very good, and it fits the character really well. So, yeah.
Without a word of a lie, when that line came up, I was like, Tim's gonna say that to Jenna.
And he has several times today.
Fantastic. No, my immediate thought was like, oh, this is a horse that's just now learning about girls. That's a I really felt for Spirit too at this moment, because he's gotten away. There's the whole thing where he like stages a breakout at the fort, which was a great sequence. I loved all of that. And like him making it a point to free the rest of the horses. And he gets out, and then he gets away, and he gets stopped by Rain, and the other two Lakota come up and throw ropes on him. And I felt for him at this moment.
I couldn't believe it. One moment I was free, and the next, more ropes.
And I'm like, come on, what? Why would you do that? Like,
especially like since these were the dudes, or the group of dudes, we'll call it, that just freed him.
Yeah.
I was like, you didn't just free him to, like, you just stole their prisoner, basically, is what happened.
That was how I felt. I'm like, Little Creek, no, bro. We had a thing going on here. You were cool. What are you doing? I just labeled this no one. I don't remember what that is, so, which is bad. I just recorded this like hours ago, and I already don't know what I recorded. So let's find out together.
I'm never gonna ride you, am I? And no one ever should.
I like that, because that is the moment of realization, and it's a great moment for both Little Creek and Spirit, because he understands, like, Spirit, even though he might not speak the language, he understands the sentiment that's going on there, and that's the moment where I'm like, oh, he's gonna ride him by the end of this movie, like that's going to happen now. But I love that line, and I love that moment.
That was the what we just talked about with the Colonel too, like showing that difference of the Colonel. We knew he begrudgingly respected the horse and let him go, and Little Creek was like, like they were both put in the same positions, but one of them figured out the right way to handle the situation.
Yeah,
and also the no food and water for 3 days versus leaving him a stack of apples. How you would treat other creatures.
Listen,
like,
if I fell asleep and I woke up and there was just a pile of apples next to me, I'd be happy too. I'd be like, who did this? Because I want to say thank you. So
I feel like we're skirting so dangerously on the edge of the conversation that happens in the horse world all of the time, of positive versus negative reinforcement versus power, like training with abusive techniques versus training with techniques that are like proven to work and all that sort of stuff. And like there's this whole psychological debate, like horse psychology debates about what works better, and this is just like we're just skirting that line right there with this.
And really that conversation can be had with training any animals, whether, and because you see it with dogs all the time. There aren't bad dogs, or bad dog owners, right? You don't dogs aren't going to be mean and aggressive by nature unless they're treated poorly or trained to do that. There's a moment in the movie Training Day that brings that up that I really liked. I think it might have been actually from a deleted scene now that I think about it, but it's Detective Alonzo talking about this guy who had trained his dog to hate and attack all of the black people that would come into the neighborhood, in a black neighborhood, to protect the house. Like it was, and I don't remember the exact conversation now, but it was like a really interesting one because he had specifically trained the dog that way to react to people, and then no one would try to rob him. Basically, no one would mess with his house. But like dogs are like that, and horses, I feel the same way. Even though I have ridden a horse all of once in my life, and I think that was 35 years ago. So, you know, I know nothing about horses, but I could tell you that you're going to probably get a lot better results using positive training and like developing a relationship with the horse than anything else. You will get results using a negative thing, but it's not going to be good, and it's certainly not going to be lasting. And you like, I hear all the time from, especially from movies, like you talk to, You hear interviews with folks that did Westerns and they talk about spending time with their horse, or Viggo Mortensen in talking about the horses in Lord of the Rings and how much time he spent with them. There was a great one I just saw with Kurt Russell. They were talking to him about Tombstone, and he said when they wrapped up Tombstone, he went to the horse wrangler and was just like, I'm going to ride this horse and you can't stop me and I'll be back. And he just like, I took off and rode for like 3 hours with this horse because he had such a good relationship with that particular horse throughout the making of the film. I love hearing stuff like that. And it's the same. You hear it with dogs. The one that got me was, I think it was John Wick 3 was the one with Halle Berry, and she had the Malinois. And like she spent months training with those dogs to the point where they listened to her as much or more than their handlers on set. And it's just, I love stuff like that. It's great. And then I got this pile of fur back here who doesn't listen to shit. But you know, I love her. I can't complain too much. She's adorable. She's just stubborn. But yeah, it was one of those things. I loved the two different versions of like working with the horses in this. It was, again, very black and white, but it also, if I were a small child seeing this, like that's going to be, you know, a good impression for me. It's going to impress a lot on me about how to deal with animals in general. Also just make me hate the Colonel even more.
Yep.
He's a dick.
Absolutely.
I love, so there are kind of a couple of actiony sequences in this, the breakout at the fort, and then the final one going through the ravine and everything. I kind of like where they, Little Creek and Spirit kind of come around that corner and they're sort of at a dead end. And then we cut away and the soldiers come around and they're just gone. And my exact thought was, ooh, Billy Goat Horse. Like he just, which if I hadn't seen actual goats in Scotland do that, I would still think it wasn't real. But I have watched a goat go up a sheer rock face. It is insane. So I thought, I kind of like that they just cut away. And it's like, no, he just got up there somehow. We're not going to say how. Doesn't matter. Irrelevant. But I love that. And then they get up and they get on top of that rock, and they're out of options. There's nowhere to go yet. And I like Spirit looking over and seeing, and the whole way that all played out. And then you get,
Oh no.
Oh, yes.
well, it's either going to work or it's not. They're going to get away. They're getting away from the soldiers one way or the other. It's just a question of what state they're in when that's done. We might have 6 broken legs between the two of us, or we're fine. And quite honestly, it could have gone either way right up until he landed. I wasn't 100% sure because the movie hadn't, like, all my expectations in this movie had been tossed out the window. So I didn't know. Like, we could have gotten the sad ending if he didn't make the jump.
That's how I would have ended the movie, is them just jumping and getting halfway over the canyon.
And then cut to
credits.
Black. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then I'm like, y'all
I mean,
figure out what
You never
happened.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would have hurt quite a bit.
Oh,
Because my note at that point was triumphant AF. Like, that was a fist pump moment of a scene when he landed. It's just like, yes.
that was its Free Willy, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Except better.
Oh,
See, I'm not convinced that Alex and Travis are going to be friends at the end of this. Like, he says the stuff that she's going to love, and then he says stuff like that, and I don't know where we're going to land.
In fairness, it's been
I
30
mean-
years since I've seen Free Willy.
And like, okay, all honesty of that scene, I feel like there's a particular moment where like I just don't know how Travis would react, because right before Willie does jump, they are saying the Native American prayer, but then Randolph does say things happen sometimes, and that's like the catalyst of him jumping the wall. So like the dialogue is, I feel like in Spirit's a little more triumphant feeling than
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
well,
it'll either happen or it won't.
Yeah.
he's either getting over the wall or we're going home.
Or Jesse's spoosh.
Jesse's gone.
What I like too in this movie with this moment is we get that oh no, oh yes, and that's it. We don't get anything else until they land, and that's perfect. And even after they land, there's no dialogue. We get a hoot and a holler from Little Creek, obviously, because he's like, I'm still alive and not still falling in the canyon. Because he would have had a lot of time.
But that moment of them jumping, when Little Creek just like extends his arms and just like lives in that moment, just floats there in that moment, it's just so good.
Oh, yeah.
And just shows like the difference between, you know, all of the industrialization that's happening in the rest of the movie and how in the moment everything else is, like Spirit and Little Creek and all the Lakota and all that.
Yeah. Yeah, they truly live in the moment, in the now, while, you know, and I love that. So that was good. We do get finally his name, which I kind of thought we were going to get earlier. Like I kept waiting, and he's never given a name, and finally we get.
Take care of her, Spirit, who could not be broken.
That's right. He couldn't be broken. He was a tough horse.
So listening to the conversation about this movie and about how like the dialogue was used so sparsely and effectively, I've decided that I want the people who made this movie to go back and remake Alien versus Predator. Because I feel like that was what I was always like, why they put humans in here? Why are the humans talking? It should just be aliens fighting each other on a planet and killing each other. There should be no words in the movie. So now I want these people who understand that.
But then,
to go back and make
okay, counterpoint to that is usually when I watch a Godzilla film, my first thought is, I don't care what's going on with the humans. Just cut all that out. I just want I want my kaijus fighting.
Yeah.
I want my, you know, I want King Kong
versus Godzilla.
I want King Kong elbow drop off the top rope.
Right.
You know?
Right. You get it. You get it.
But then I saw Godzilla -1. And I don't know if
I haven't
any of
seen
you
it
have
yet,
seen
but
that
I've heard
yet.
it's so good. Yeah.
But Godzilla -1 takes all of your ideas of what makes a good Godzilla movie and says, yes, but also,
we gotta watch
and
that
becomes like, believe the hype of that one, because that movie tells you a story with the humans that you actually care about. It's incredible, yeah, along with some really good Godzilla stuff. So,
I've had several recommendations for it, but nobody's told me anything about it. And I'm like, okay, I've got to bump this up on the list now.
So I hadn't seen it, and then it got re-released in theaters, and I was like, well, I'm not passing that up. And I went and saw it again. I went to see it for the first time on the big screen, and it was 100% worth it. So definitely. I didn't realize this was nominated for an Academy Award either. This was in the second year that they had the Best Animated Feature category as its own category. It got nominated. It did not win. And when I saw what it went up against, I understood why. Spirited Away won that year.
Oh, yeah.
Look, I really enjoyed this movie. Okay? I really did. It ain't Spirited Away. I'm sorry.
No.
Like it doesn't quite hit that level, but this is very good. So don't get that wrong. No, I honestly really enjoyed this. I didn't think that it would have the emotional impact that it had on me while watching it when I started it. I thought, all right, I'm going to like this. It's one of those movies that I go into thinking, yeah, I'm going to end up enjoying my time with this. But it was so much more than that. And it's the combination of everything in it. It is the music, Bryan Adams notwithstanding. It is the music. It is the animation style. It is the characterizations of especially Spirit and Rain. Those two are great. And the little bit of stuff with his mom at the beginning I thought was adorable. I did like kind of baby and young Spirit. I thought was great. But just like all of the pieces coming together, and it just tells a very simple story with interesting characters. Because even Little Creek, he's not the Colonel. He's better than him, but he still is trying to get Spirit to be a horse that he can ride, that he can use, and he figures out the difference is he figures out it's not going to happen and it shouldn't happen. And that's what I really liked about his character. So like there's character growth there. There's character growth through Spirit. I love the line. I didn't capture it, but I love the line of like, this goodbye was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Because he spent the whole movie trying to get away and trying to get home, and he's finally free. And now he's like, do I want to go? There's a moment of reluctance. I almost thought at that moment he would stay. And instead, he takes Rain with him. So, no, this is a really good movie. So thank you for forcing me to watch it.
I end up saying that after most of the horse movies that we've watched.
You know, it's funny because
like it's way bigger and better than I had given it credit for.
Yeah, doing the show, one of the things that I've found doing the show is I love sharing movies with people, but I also really like people bringing me something that I either passed over or didn't think about, and getting to understand, oh, this is actually really good, and I shouldn't have missed it, or I've never heard of it before. In the case of something like One Cut of the Dead, I did last year. Knew nothing about that. That movie was like unreal how good it was. Same thing with something like Amelie, which was a movie I knew of, but I didn't realize how much I was going to like it until I actually sat down and watched it. So I really love that kind of stuff. It's great. Sharing movies and art is so much fun because there's a piece of you in it too. So like you learn a little bit about somebody when they say, hey, here's a movie that you should watch. I really like this. And it's funny because like movies centered around horses is a fun and also kind of interesting little sort of subgenre of films, right? It's like you've got sports movies, but then there's sports movies about baseball in particular because it works in cinema, and horses work in cinema because they've been around since the start of moving pictures. And they're majestic animals, and there's a lot of drama in them in general. And so it just works. Plus, they can be around in so many different ways to have horses involved in your story. I remember seeing All the Pretty Horses. I don't remember much about the movie, but I didn't hate it. So that was when I was dragged to. Like I will admit I was forced to go to that movie.
We haven't gotten to that one yet. That one's still on my list to see.
It's a good one. I would revisit it since you'd be in a different headspace.
Yeah, it's just an interesting thing to go through and think about a movie where it's like, yeah, I was dragged to see that, but I enjoy, like Legally Blonde was that for me, or it was, we're gonna go see Legally Blonde, you're coming with us, and I walked out of that like, damn it, that was really good. I didn't think I was gonna like that, but I did.
I'm curious now. Have you ever seen Black Beauty?
No.
Like kind of the horse movie. Oh,
I have
well,
not. Yeah, so probably.
Wait, hold on. When you say Black Beauty, there are
not that one, Tim, not that one.
I think Travis would really enjoy the Luke Perry version.
No, please, God.
No. We don't acknowledge the existence of that movie. Thank you. I'm talking about the Black Beauty with like all of like the famous actors that are British. So like the 2 or 3 of them, they're all in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was what, 71? Does that sound right?
Oh, I don't know.
There's a couple Black Beauties.
Yeah.
I think
there
was an early 2000s one.
There's a 1994 one with Sean Bean.
Yes, that's the one.
Okay.
1994. That's
Sean
the one to
Bean.
watch, I think.
Holy crap! Sean Bean, David Thewlis, Alan Cumming.
Yeah.
Peter the Fourth Doctor, Fifth Doctor, Peter Davison.
When you run through the list, it is kind of an amazing cast.
Alan Armstrong and his eyebrows are in it.
What? They fit it all?
Somehow they managed to get his eyebrows in there. I'm impressed.
That's crazy.
Let's not downplay the Bruce Davidson Luke Perry version.
No, let's downplay it.
Please.
That's like the legitimately only bad movie that they've ever made me watch on Horse Girls. Like
so,
it's terrible.
my one question with Black Beauty from 1994. It stars Sean Bean. So I have to ask. Probably know what question is coming, but I must ask.
Yeah.
Does he live through the movie?
Well, that's a spoiler.
Okay. Yeah, but at the same time, it's Sean Bean, so like I've got a better than 50-50 chance of getting this right.
Much better than 50-50, I think, at this point.
Kind of his thing.
I don't want to commit us to anything, but I feel like we got to do this one now.
Yeah.
I know.
So I loved the Silent Hill movie,
Mm-hmm.
and it still baffles me of all the movies for him to survive. Like,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
mind-blowing to me that that's one of them.
It's true. You wouldn't think.
Was that like a choice based on the notoriety of his death in movies?
Maybe
know.
maybe it was intentional.
Maybe they were like, not this one.
yeah. We're gonna
there's a-
subvert expectations.
There was a Black Beauty in 2020.
Don't.
Yeah,
Don't
it's
do
not.
it.
They
Just
keep
don't.
doing- Yeah,
Is
they
that the
just
Luke
keep
Perry
doing
one?
these- No.
Oh, okay.
That was and there's a bunch of Flicka ones too. One of them starring the kid that played Renesmee in Twilight.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of really bad remakes because they just keep like gender swapping the horse and then slightly changing the time period, and it's
Mhm.
it's difficult.
I'll skip it. I'll skip that one. If we want to do the 1994 Black Beauty at some point, I'm open to that. We can discuss that later. So, question then for the Horse Girls. In terms of your horse-based movies, where does Spirit land? Alex, we'll start with you.
Really, really high up there. It's got to be in the top. I want to say 10, and I want to bump it down to 5, but I feel like there's some I'm not thinking of. But it's super high up there. It's such a good movie. It's like a classic. There's I feel like when you ask horse people, there's like a sort of spectrum that you go through, and Spirit is one of the ones that like to this day I know horses named Spirit. I know horses named Rain. Like it's right there. It's in the oeuvre of horse people. So it's I think top 5 for me. I'll commit to top 5.
All right. Jenna?
Oh gosh, yeah. I think just based on like where I was, as a kid watching this, and like then it shaping me wanting to do art like that, even though I didn't end up in art, and then me working with horses later on. It's probably number 2.
All right.
Honestly.
What's number 1?
Stop. There's too many to pick
I
from.
know. That's why I was like,
It's a rotating list.
Lord of the Rings.
There you go.
Yeah, if we start doing that,
Yeah,
Then
but
one of
I'm
them
including
becomes
all
bottom.
of them in. Yeah,
Is it John Wick 2 where he rides the horse?
yeah.
Might have been.
That's on there too.
So I always make the joke whenever anybody, like we talk about top 5 or top 10 movies, my top 5 movies is about 50 movies long.
Yeah.
And it sort of changes from hour to hour. Like I have a hard time with it. But I can tell you that we've seen some like movies that ended up being really good that I thought were just going to be jokes. And like I'm mostly talking about The Horse Whisperer. Like it's so dramatic and so epic. And I thought it was going to be just a silly movie. And it's hard to put, but I could definitely see Spirit being in my top 5.
It had Robert Redford in it.
But if
Why would it be silly?
Well, if we're talking about emotional reactions being triggered in me, the movie that we've watched on Horse Girls that triggered the sharpest emotional reaction is easily Racing Stripes.
I'm sitting here like it's gonna be Warhorse. It's gonna be Seabiscuit.
Same. I was waiting for that. Then it's fucking Frankie Muniz as the zebra.
That zebra found her place or his place. I don't remember, but it got me.
Snoop
it got
Dogg
me right
was
here.
Snoop Dogg was a dog in the movie that just said nonsensical things.
So I would put Spirit right below Racing Stripes, I think.
All right. Okay. I mean,
Hayden Panettiere to this day will not work with animals because of Racing Stripes.
Yeah.
You know why? When you've reached perfection, there's only one direction to move from there, and it's away from it.
Oh, now I kind of want to see that movie.
Oh, okay. We're gonna come back for several movies, Travis, because I'm here.
Yeah, you're just gonna have like a whole like Horse Girl series now.
Might have to do like Horse Month and just
Yeah.
knock out some horse movies.
Oh my god, this is my new
Let's
favorite holiday. Move
go.
aside truck month. It's horse month now.
I mean, honestly, I don't have a ton of horse movies that I've seen, but this is up there for me in terms of just like emotional response in a movie in a while.
Yeah.
And part of it I think was I wasn't prepared for that. And so I was able to just let myself dive into whatever this movie was going to give me. And it gave me quite a bit. And it's gorgeous. The animation in it is so good. Like when I read that it was $80 million budget, I get that. I see it because they put so much time and effort and energy into all of this animation. And it just looks absolutely beautiful. So if you haven't seen this movie, it's streaming on Peacock right now. So it's easy to find. And it's great. It's a lot of fun. This is a super fun movie to watch. So thank you for getting me to watch it.
Heck yeah.
Thank you for letting us come talk about it.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. So we've mentioned it a few times, but let people know about the Horse Girls podcast. Those that don't know, what is it? Where can they find it? What's it about?
This is Alex's job. She's the one who tells people about
Is
us.
it? But
Mhm.
you're the one that's been in training for so long. I don't want
I
to
know.
take this moment away from you.
Ooh.
Okay, so we just explained Horse Girls as a podcast. These two grew up as horse girls, and I was only mildly convinced that they were actual animals and not like unicorns. And they're teaching me how to be a proper horse girl by going through Horse Girl Media.
Excellent.
And it has been a joy. We're reading the eventing series right now, and it is fantastic.
So good.
Yeah.
Fun. Where can people find the show?
Horsegirls.club
Excellent.
or on podcast places. What do they call those now? Are they still called podcatchers? Do we not do, do we still do
Sure.
that? Is that
Yeah.
still a thing?
That's fine. I mean, podcast itself is an antiquated word anymore, so might as well stick with podcatcher. Do you know anyone that uses an iPod to listen to their podcasts? I could probably tell you one. I could probably name one person maybe that still does.
Oh, yeah, one is more than me.
Yeah.
No.
Horsegirls.club or anywhere you get your podcasts. Search for Horse Girls podcast.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Excellent. I love the idea of turning Tim into a horse girl and getting him through media indoctrination. It's perfect.
Yeah. Mhm.
Did it start with the eye clips to like hold your eyes open, very Clockwork Orange style?
Clockwork Orange, yeah.
Yeah. Is that how it started? And eventually they broke you, and now you're
They
just
just
like,
keep
all
giving
right.
me milk.
We put him on a post for 3 days and we said no food, no water.
Yeah. And then I
Perfect.
brought out a stack of apples, but I just ate them in front of him.
That would do it. Yep.
Yeah.
Excellent.
They're both very charming in stubborn and irritating ways.
All right. Perfect. 3 callbacks in one fell swoop. Well done, everyone. If you enjoy listening to this show, I do record it weekly. Twitch.tv/TV's Travis is the live stream for the recording, and then it comes out as a podcast every Wednesday, wherever you can get your podcasts. My next episode will not be live streamed because I will be in Las Vegas in front of a live audience. I will be in the Canyon Room of the Plaza Hotel in downtown Las Vegas for it's a TMS Vegas get together, and my guest is going to be one Stephen Adams, because he is going to be there. We're celebrating his 40th birthday, and I am making him watch the movie Smokin' Aces. He's never seen it, and we're going to watch that and talk about it, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So that is the next episode upcoming. I cannot wait. I cannot wait because
That's so cool.
this is a movie I saw in theaters in 2006 when it came out.
Oh yeah, I saw this one too.
And I'm a big fan of Joe Carnahan's work as a director. I've loved his other movies. So when this came out, we're going to go see this. And then the cast is incredible. And it's just, the crazy thing is they made sequels to it, which I'm going to talk about during the next show because
I didn't know that.
yeah, don't just stick with watching the first one. It's fine. You don't need any more. But that's what's coming up next. And then I've got some more fun ones, including Mystery Men in the future. I'm getting someone to watch
fun.
that. American Psycho. I've got somebody to watch that
Can't
one.
wait for that one.
And then my friend Hammond is going to make me watch China Strike Force with Mark Dacascos. I have no idea what to expect with that, other than it's going to be glory. It's going to be glorious, gloriously cheesy. So that's some upcoming episodes. And this, as I said, this episode and every episode comes out every Wednesday wherever you get your podcasts. And you can go to tvstravis.com to find links to all the shows that I do outside of this one, including Those Were the Days, Gore podcast. There's links for merchandise if you want my goofy logo on a t-shirt or a coffee mug, much like this one I'm holding up right now. You can get that there. And there's a Patreon at patreon.com/WYHS. That is what fuels and allows me to do things like live version in Vegas, or I'll be back at Dragon Con this year, and I'm going to be doing the show there and other panels. That's all funded by my patrons. So if you're able to do that, I appreciate it. If all you can do is listen to the show, I appreciate that too, because that's what I end up doing it for the most. I just love talking movies with people and finding new movies like Spirit. So I never would have watched this on my own. So you got me to watch a movie I wouldn't have watched on my own, and I liked the hell out of it. So thank you. So, yeah, that is going to wrap things up. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Jenna. Thank you, Tim. You guys are great. It's always fun having you. And we'll have to talk about doing Turn Travis into a Horse Girl month. And come up with
yes.
Can't wait.
Oh my God.
And I mean, you're going to be talking to famous horse girl Steven Adams soon, so.
That's true.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. All right. So until next time, just remember to enjoy your movies. Be excellent to each other. This has been Wait You Haven't Seen.
There was just no end to the strange ways of the two-leggeds.
Just no end to it. Two-leggeds are weird.